yes, you're obviously only gonna look at this in the future. Well, I'm the Coke, or maybe Pupster, or maybe we see. I don't know. I freaking.
I have the weirdest name ever. My name is Tim.
Timid Loud Folk.
Yeah.
It's a stupid name.
I really do not know what I
So today we're gonna ask people to gift us for a cringe compilation. It's gonna be beautiful. But there's something we have to do first. We have to go to my den and we have to show some stuff off.
Yeah, the stuff that we
Yeah, we gotta show off our adventure stuff. We're doing the Tiki adventure, and I got like Koa and oh my God, this dude is 10 times bigger than Koa. We got Koa and Momi. And where's the bird dude? Yeah, that's his name. And look at my seashell collection. Oh my God, we're being so loud. It's like freaking 12. Look at this. 12 in the morning. No, you're not. Look at my porthole fish tank, Blackie. You're standing on it. Get off my freaking fish tank. No, I'm using it. It's actually on my fish tank, so I'm gonna put it in my living room. It's like an aquarium. Actually, inside the wall.
Very tiny speaker. You make it sound like, voices.
No. I freaking sold one of my masterpieces for a bear. I know, I suck. I don't know, it doesn't really look good. I don't like it. Oh, and I need to show you guys something really cool. No, I need to show you guys really. Shut up. We already read the news. We're gonna do an update video, maybe. But oh my God! Did you stop? I mean, it's scary that you. I have some cat plushes. This is going to be the worst video in the history of literally every YouTube video ever. Glitch! Epic 360 no so glitch. Guys, want to see a cool glitch? This video has no purpose. Alright guys, here's our cool glitch.
Okay guys,
hey, noise! It's mail time! We gotta go ask people for gifts. Okay. After that we're asking people for gifts because we're actually recording. Blar. Duh. We're duh. I'm oh my God, I'm the wrong animal. I just realized this. I'm not my mascot. This is my mascot. It's a lemur, and everyone thinks lemurs are creepy. But I think lemurs are one of the most adorable animals ever. Including the cut. Yeah, no, lemurs are more adorable than them. Even more adorable than bunnies. Lemurs are just the most adorable animals, you know? You just gotta sit down and get to know them. Get to know them personally. Get to know their walk. Get to know their beautiful walking. And trust me, like, my lemur feels naked without pants. My lemur feels naked without pants. And a shirt, or shirt. And a necklace. Yeah, I was gonna replace it with candy cane socks, but I said, can we get on top? I know, but I gave you my small top hat. I gave you a train set. Yes. Oh my God! Click on Momo.
Oh, okay.
What?
Click on that dude. No, you do it. You do it.
My den?
Just click on him, okay? It's not that hard.
No, I'm in the middle of
Alright, let me show you, okay? I know! Put someone in his jaws, he just murders your face. Oh Oh, it's so cool! We are loud.
I have a pink one.
Alright, we're gonna show you something. Are you ugly? Yes! Yes! They are ugly! We're loud and bombastic. We're gonna wake everyone in the... You have the red painted pot I gave you? It's super red. Don't like it.
I'm gonna love my dog.
Maybe I should just
I'm putting
try.
97 dead.
You're just putting a bunch of rare stuff in it. You're not even like thinking about where
See
to
if
put
I
I'm
can
just
do
putting
it.
all my 97 items.
Come on, Lexi, we have to do mail time. Alright, let's... No one cares. Anyways, let's go to Jama Township, aka the best place.
Right now, first I gotta do our budding.
No, actually. To think that we're actually recording and I never believe people who say they're recording. Yeah. Yes? Yes, this person
Have you
is.
get on to Heidegger or have you watching the recording?
Yeah, I can't type.
Oh, can you do the second one? I haven't even...
Yay, I'm in a bit. I'm a... Yeah, I'm a...
discussion board without...
Oh god.
Just to use the discussion area.
Oh god, I don't want to make any gross sounds. The person's just gonna be in the cat. No, I want to see who's in my den. Do they actually think I'm recording? Do they actually think I'm recording for the future and stuff? Oh man, when I'm 13, this is going.
I'm taking a different approach. There's so many links coming in from
Oh my god, no! I already freaking have those reindeer Lord.
All the links I need to review, I check them out.
Hello. I'm saying hello to someone who's in my desk. No one's gifted me yet. A lot of people straight. Oh God, turn down the music, guys. I'm gonna get the go-go music for my den soon so I can play it. Wow. Like, these people are like so excited to use this. Yes. Yeah. You're in a bid. You're in a video, guys.
I'll give you all these things you give. What's gonna be our YouTube?
I don't know. I'm not even. Nah, thanks. I'm not. No, we should only have one channel. For all the mayhem. All the mayhem happens in one channel. Because I did a channel when I'm 13, and I am still making a channel. It's going to be so beautifully cringy. Oh God, heart eyes! Oh God! Oh God, this person's popping heart eyes. Oh God! Oh God, you are popping hot eyes! I'm gold! I'm gold, I'm female.
I think he was very specific about
Oh God, I'm female hell! Don't follow me.
So we left off with finally there's a fourth participant.
You're pretty, I'm female, thank you. Did you not notice I'm female?
But not at all because
they're saying I'm pretty, yo. I don't want to know. No. What?
The Aristotelian doctor neither knows the cause that is named by the term.
Anyways, guys, this person was popping hard eyes. I hate them. I'm jumping to all my conclusions. Yeah, I'm just gonna go back and ask for gifts because I'm totally recording. Yeah, I'm actually recording. That's why I'm being loud. Me recording.
The silversmith considers.
Me too. I found someone who's recording. Me too. Guys, I'm recording too. Wow. Wow, 2 people recording at the same time. So amazing. So amazing. So amazing. I'm getting hair all over my face. Help. This is just the amazingest. Is that a word? Is that a word? I don't think so. Fashion show. Gift me. Recording and we'll shout out all of them.
To bring forward into. By the way, I put a couple links with.
I'm recording too.
Smith is co-responsible.
Voice crack.
Yeah, guys.
As
I'm recording too.
The sacrificial's vessel, bringing forth and resting in self-take. Resting in self. If you look in the comment section, there is a link to a Wikipedia article on Heideggerian. Please gift me. I am recording. Yay! I'm going to do gift time. Oh, sorry. This is actually where Heidegger.
No, I don't want to. Okay. I can't just stop recording because you can't record. Alright, I'm gonna go help.
Gives us these new ways of looking at things, present at hand, ready at hand. Let me just read these so that we got an idea of what he's talking about in these phrases. Two of the most basic neologisms. Present in hand and ready at hand are used to describe various attitudes towards things in the world. For Heidegger, such attitudes are prior to,
Sorry, I'm
are
sorry,
basic
but
in the
it's too
various
hard.
sciences
hold
of the individual
technology.
items in the world. Science
Okay.
itself is an attitude, one that
Please
attempts
give
a
me.
kind
I
of
am recording.
neutral investigation.
I am.
Other related terms are explained below. He gives this article is really great for understanding what it means in the world.
I know.
Yeah, so you can leave this on your own time, everyone.
What about autobiographies?
That's back to the essay.
Arcade of plushies.
Okay, the silversmith is co-responsible.
Please give me. I got hacking. Okay, so like you got a hacker over
They
here.
contain their first
Yeah, they got hacked.
The
Or they're
three
hacking.
previously mentioned ways of being responsible both link to the conquering of the silversmith, or the
Please
bad
gift me. I'm
and the how
recording.
of their coming
Yeah.
into occurrence.
I
and
am
into
recording.
play
I
for the
really am. You have to flip stuff.
Those are the ways of being
Maybe we should gather our thoughts and become
They differ
Let's do a
from
script.
one thing, yet they belong to another. Like yet they belong together.
Right up.
One another, yet they belong together. What unites them from the beginning?
Yes, we are
What
recording.
does
Yeah,
this clang of
we are
unison of
recording.
the four ways of being
This one is quite
responsibly responsible play? What is
Yeah.
the source of the unity?
Let's
of the four
actually
causes?
hope people gift us.
What, after all, does
not
this
using that.
knowing and being responsible mean?
Gift me. I'm gonna do mail. What do you mean?
Greeks thought it.
Okay, no.
There's a footnote here.
I'm shocked. No.
Please gift me. I got hacking. Seriously, you have a flower crown. And a little.
Keep going.
Everybody, you point.
Today we are too easily inclined to understand being responsible, being indebted moralistically as a lapse, or else proven in terms of effectiveness. In either case,
We
we
wish- I
bar
wish
to
it was
ourselves a
popular,
way
then we
to
get mail.
the primal meaning of that which is left are called causality.
Yeah,
So
I
long
look
as
unique.
this way
I'm
is
so
not
unique.
opened up
We're unique. I wish you could
to us, we shall also fail to see what instrumentality
I prefer
based on
Julian's here.
causality actually is.
Oh my god, people are gonna murder us for this
Being
opinion.
responsible and being indebted.
Like they're gonna
Let us
take their
clarify the
knives.
four ways of being responsible in terms of that which they are responsible. According to our
Like we haven't
example,
gotten a
they are
single gift.
responsible
If I
for
do get a
the
gift, I
silver
will be
chalices lying ready before us.
Yeah.
Thus, lying before it, lying ready.
Yeah, we're gonna do nail time at the very end.
Echo this.
So once we get enough gifts, we make
Characterize the lying ready is what we mean. Characterize the present scene. That's another one of his words. Present scene is something that present is. The four ways of being
There's someone
responsible
at our on my
something
desk.
into appearance. Okay, let it come forth into present scene. There's that
That's German.
Anwesen. And there's a footnote here. You want to read the footnote for us? Keep in mind the microphone is somewhere on this.
By writing on the composition of the verb
Stop
on the
singing!
translated as to presence.
I got my.
The verb consists of
Oh
reason,
my god, there's
literally to
at my
be
desk.
or
I have to go attend
with the
this.
prepositional prefix on,
I swear
and,
it's probably gonna
which
be
means
like
at or toward.
brand new non-members.
It is man who
Just
must
exploding
receive
with them
presence.
for the.
Man
Oh,
who
it's those
receives
two
presence
people.
of
I mean, I'm
the
fine with the giraffe, but the girl was popping heart emojis.
Simon being translated
Started to pop flipping hearts.
So,
Ah! Oh my
so
god!
it gives a little bit of
I
a
just got
background
mail.
to what he might
I
mean
just got
by
mail.
presence.
Hi! Oh my god!
Work.
Oh my god!
And
Flipping
again,
laugh!
for
Laugh!
those who are
Laugh!
watching around the
Why
live
do
or
you all
those
figure it?
who are
I'm pretty close. The gift is still there. Yeah. We were supposed to do mail time at the end. Let's go back to Jim Township, yo! Oh my god. This is the happy day. This is a happy day.
Okay, so
Happy day,
Fernand
everybody.
set
Nobody
it
likes
into that place, and so started on its way, namely into its complete arrival.
Please.
The principal characteristic of being responsible is this starting something on its way into
See what it is.
complete
We're gonna
arrival,
open it later.
which is in the sense of starting something on its way into arrival that being responsible is an occasioning for and
I
Houston
am.
go forward.
And then German words, there are Lawson. Footnote,
And
there are Lawson is Heidegger's writing of the verb there
will
are Lawson.
do
In noun form, now hyphenated, bring out its meaning. There are
not.
Lawson ordinarily means to occasion, cause, bring about, to call for. Its use here relates back to the use
Please
of
give me. I am recording,
to
and we'll
leave
do
something
mail
on,
time
or
later.
use to get set going. Here, translated, it means to start something on its way.
I gotta
Lawson
wear-
is conceitually
Ow!
written
Oh my
as
god,
on
another
Lawson
one.
with a hyphen,
Another one.
so
We
as
need
to
to see what it
emphasize its composition from Lawson,
My
to let
my
it
raccoon for
be,
you.
and on, to, or for,
Oh, that's
or toward. One of the functions of the German prefix there, ber, is to intensify the force of
What
the
is it?
verb. Andre Priel quotes Heidegger as saying there on Lawson.
I just need to respond to
and
this.
on Lawson. So there, as it were,
No
pushes the
thanks.
latter toward
Thanks.
its doing. There's in fair.
Because I like my raccoon.
Comes from Essay
You get on it. Please gift me. I am recording and will do mail time.
Welcome, Jason.
We're both
Oh,
members.
okay, yeah, it took me a lot longer than I thought to get here, so, not close by, but it's nice to go to new places.
Well, we left off in the middle
Oh
of
my god.
page 8,
Oh my
now we're
god.
jumping
Oh my god.
to page 10.
I don't want to chat. I'm
You want to start reading
Come
for
on,
us?
name's Spinny
Ben?
Skippy Boy
Page
Andre.
8?
Got it
Made me
right
close
there.
my accept.
Alright, so
Ah,
top
I
page
moved.
now on the basis of a look at what the Greeks
Oh my god.
experienced
Who
in
says
being
lol
possible
out loud?
in
Who even does that? You laugh
we
out
now
loud.
give this verb to occasion
You say
a
lol
more
in
inclusive
the
meaning,
or you use
so that it now is the name or the essence of the causality thought as the Greeks thought it. The common and narrower meaning of occasion in context is nothing more than striking
advertise our
event
cause?
recent, and means a kind of secondary
Yes,
cause
you give me.
within the
I
whole
am
of causality.
there.
But in what, then, does the playing in unison of the
Cool, it's
qualities
amazing.
of
I've
occasion
opened
in
it
play?
already. And if I get any
They
more,
let what
I'm gonna
is
check
not
to see
yet
if there's a
present
gift.
arrive
It'll
in the
open
present
it.
state. Accordingly, they are unifiedly ruled over by the bringing that brings what presences into appearance. Plato tells us
No!
what
Don't
this
even
bringing
say it.
is in a sentence from Symposium. He got Troy, and a lot of
Then
other
you're gonna get a
Latin there,
reputation,
which,
you know, for
oh,
giving
Greek,
them all the
sorry,
stuff they want.
which
Everyone's gonna be
translated
crowding
means
around you
every
like, give me this,
occasion
give me that,
or
give me
whatever
this, give me
passes
that,
over
you know?
and goes forward into presencing. From that which is not presencing is poiesis, is bringing forth. The
What if they give
German
you a necklace?
erbor bringing.
I'll read the footnotes on that. The full gamut of meaning for the verb for
Nice!
here, functioning as a noun includes the bring forth of
Oh my god, someone has a pet seal, and the pet seal's not a number too.
what we get to utter, to elicit. Heidegger intends that all of these nuances be heard. He hyphenates the word in order to emphasize its adverbial prefixes. Here or hither, and forward, or forth. Heidegger elsewhere makes
Feb 12/25/1. You get a shout out, you're cool, and you're rare, and I'm recording. You're the cool dude, you're the cool dude. And
her
like,
or
cool.
bringing
High five.
for him.
Oh, there should be a high five emoji. Oh, we should do that.
Translating literally,
Boxes,
bringing
say
forth
high five.
hither, brings hither out of concealment, forth into unconcealment. And after identifying working,
Okay, I shouldn't say.
and her for bringing, he says that working must be understood as bringing hither into unconcealment, forth into presency. Because of the awkwardness of the English phrase to bring forth hither, it has not been possible to include in the translation of her for bringing the nuance of meaning that her provides.
Please give me, I am recording with real time.
Yes.
But how do they even know your channel though?
I'm just trying to keep up the
Camera's
Heidegger's
like
words.
not active right now.
Yeah, if we were native German speakers, And you got to be exposed to that because you read.
Well, I think
Wow,
that
it's
the essence of simulation is to get what the idea is, because there are lots of idioms and lots of unusual phrases in English that when you break it down with the actual words doesn't really make any sense. So, it's like when you say if someone's unconscious, they came to. What it came to what? You know, so we understand that as an idiom. But if that was in a translation, you would find what it meant, and then you would write what it meant.
Right.
So I mean, there are lots of things that we say that we know are expressions attached to the phrase, but you can't break the phrase down into its constituent parts, because then it loses the meaning.
I've read in some of the other articles, and I think what catches the most is unconcealment.
Why are you so popular?
Something that was quickly hidden, and now it is gone through the act of being unconcealed, so revealed. Do you want to keep reading then? Or, okay.
It is of utmost importance that we think bringing forth in its full scope, and at the same time in the sense in which the Greeks thought it, not only handcraft and manufacture, not only artistic and poetic bringing into
Trick or treat bucket?
and concrete images, is a bringing forth. This is also the arising of something from out of itself, is the bringing forth poesis. This is indeed poesis in the highest sense.
No one has
recognized
recognized
by means of this
though
as the bursting open belonging to bringing forth. An example, the bursting of a blossom into bloom.
Nobody knows I'm
In
recording.
contrast, what is brought
I wish we
forth
had a
by the
microphone.
artisan, is the artist, for example, the silver chalice, has the bursting open belonging to bringing forth, not in itself, but in another, in the craftsman or artist. So the artist is bringing forth himself.
You were doing mailbox to him.
Yeah, and it's, something is coming out of him.
Please, gift.
Previously, the act of creation reveals something that the artist didn't necessarily know about.
Somebody, I've got one gift. Sure, it is amazing.
And well, it certainly is
And I
philosophical
love the
because
gift.
for many years, a lot of people in philosophy have made the illusion or the example of the stone cutter, because stone cutting has been around for a long time, and the stone cutter reveals something
I just want to check this, dude.
that was always there, but
What
in a way it's a
masterpiece?
reflection of the
Oh,
stone
it's
cutter.
actually really cute.
So that's an important.
Wait, it's not even made by them.
Jason, you want to pick up reading for us with the modes of reading?
It's not going to be good.
Oh, I don't mind reading it in here.
Alright,
It's not that hard. But...
Alright, please, sir.
Oh my god. I already have the rare gazelle horns. Jeez, dude.
Page 46.
Right, so yeah, I have a
You're getting so much attention right now.
Four causes are explained within bringing forth. Through bringing forth the growing things of nature, as well
And I
as
was in
whatever
most
is
of
completed
them.
through the crafts and the art.
Oh my god, someone's I need to check.
And how does bringing forth happen?
Please don't tell me it's the
Be
girl.
it in nature or in handiwork and art? What is the bringing forth in
Please
which
don't
the
tell me.
fourfold way of occasion in place? Occasion has to do with the presence
Oh god, it's the
of
girl.
that which
Run.
any given time comes to
Run.
appearance in bringing
Run. I'm not
forth.
dealing with this chick.
Such
I'm not
bringing
dealing with
forth
her right
brings-
now.
brings
I'm
out
more in the
of
mood.
concealment. Okay, that sentence is
Oh,
complete.
someone's recording Tiki
Bringing
Trouble
forth brings
Adventure.
hither out of concealment.
We completed that with like
or
my
unconcealment.
9 minutes to spare.
Okay, bringing forth brings out.
Alright.
Brings out of concealment something that
Give-
was
Oh, I'm right in front of you. I never noticed that.
concealed.
I
Bringing forth comes to pass
am weak.
only insofar as something concealed comes into unconcealment. So something is
Okay,
making
give me
it.
I am recording.
Transition.
And I know. Will
This coming rests and moves freely within what
mail
is called revealing
her.
for those that know what that is.
I'll read the footnote.
Like you're saying
Looks
that.
like it's going to be a
What is this
multi-paragraph
person?
in that, too. The verb
Where are you?
infragun to
Oh god, it's the
outline
girl.
infragun.
Give me I am recording.
viewings are unique to Heidegger because of the exigencies of
Oh man,
translation.
I cursed.
Must usually be translated with revealing and the presence
I am
of
recording and we'll do mealtime
which is rather infrequently used, has therefore regrettably been obscured for want of an appropriate English
Conco is more empty, I guess.
There's nobody here.
Infergen and
What?
Infergon are formed from
Give
the
me,
verb bergen and the verbal
Give
prefix
me, I'm recording and we'll do mealtime later. Man, this is really repetitive.
cover to secure to harbor,
Like,
to conceal.
I don't know, do you want to talk
And
about
is used in
something?
German verbs to
Maybe,
conjugate in one
I don't know, the new
way or
update?
another,
Because we have pet koalas, and they have spinning boy accessories, which is interesting, even though I really like Julian too, and I think the
The
spinning boy is
negative
amazing.
former condition.
I'm
Infergen connotates an opening out from protective concealment, a hardening force for presentation of Heidegger's central
Stop.
element
She's
that
amazing.
it
She's
is
right.
only
Stop.
as protected and preserved
Infinity,
as
infinity.
that
Infinity Den Betas. There we go. There we go.
that anything is set forth
Oh.
contained as that which it is. I
Jump,
need
jump.
to be seen, building, dwelling, thinking, in
Give
poetry,
me,
language,
I'm
thought,
recording it.
translated,
Oh, the mail time, like mail time.
Well, Infergen and Infergon join a family of words
That's
all
bed
formed
sound.
from
We're recording
bergen,
this on a bed.
bergen to conceal,
We don't even have a desk in this.
borgen
Your
bite,
room. I have a desk.
concealment, das Verborgen, das Verborgen,
I have a desk in the living room. Okay, give me your mail time. Two non-member gender. That's a very small window. Very small amount of items.
But one fundamental step has made it necessary to
Ow,
obscure
heartburn.
the close
I'm
relationship
done.
of all the none of which
Give me, I'm
conceal,
recording.
unconceal,
Later.
evinces with any
Man,
adequacy
black is real.
resident in Bergen itself, yet the
Look at how
reader
little
should be
dreams I have right now.
constantly aware that the full range of connotation present in Bergen sounds
This person is
for
messed
Heidegger
up. Guess what he said?
within all these
Listenable.
its derivations.
Not good. Not good. Don't give them a shout out though. Because then everyone will
Keep
know.
up with
They should not.
After our German lesson, yeah.
No!
Yeah, everyone can take a bathroom break during the German lesson.
Next.
The Greeks have the word
Wow, let's see. We didn't have to tell you full YouTube
overviewing.
community.
That's good to know.
by the way, put a footnote in the comments for LFD.
Give me, I am recording and will do mail time later. I put a lot of effort
When we
into saying
translate
this.
this with veritas,
So
we say
please do
truth,
so.
and usually understand
I've
that
got
the
like
correctness of an idea.
anagrams. Oh! Blackout spiked
So
collar!
where have
Woo!
we strayed to?
Let's stop for a moment.
We're actually getting some
When
nice
you translate this with veritas,
I'm about to
you say truth and
Seriously?
you
Oh my god. They the lens.
Alethea, let me go back to the footnote. Just,
everybody trying to
Jeez! You're desperate. Oh my god, would people stop? I have much to give, but I really want to say is to say, really cool look. Thanks.
this is more about concealment, unconcealment.
I need to
Heidegger
reply to
in
this.
another area will reference
I
actually
haven't seen people finding me
particular
already.
artwork from Van Gogh
I have
called The Origin of the Work of Art. And
How do I spell appreciate?
so let me just put this a little bit out there. So in the early to mid 20th century, Heidegger brought renewed attention to the concepts of Alethea by relating it to the notion of disclosure, or the way in which things appear as
Compliments.
entities.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, I love the
In the
compliments.
world. While he initially referred to Alethea as truth, specifically a form that is pre-Socratic in origin, Heidegger eventually corrected
Trade
this
me
interpretation,
something
to raise
good.
the question of Alethea of disclosure as such is not the same as raising the question
I
of
know,
truth.
I
For this reason, it was
tell
inadequate
me
and
about it all the
misleading to call
time.
Althea
It's so
in the
laggy,
sense
like what party's on?
of
Like
opening
maybe we can
truth.
go to a party.
And then
I don't know,
goes
when we
on, I
get
think what
famous,
he's
we'll
trying
be
to say
all,
is,
Tiki Chum. Yeah, we played that adventure, we
as
got a
read
bunch
this
of cool
is-
stuff.
well, since the whole story,
Seashell display, Jag, if
at
you
least
want
that's what
one.
Althea is trying to communicate.
Probably isn't even going up.
It's not necessarily the truth, but it's everything that went in behind it. It's not necessarily its analysis, but it is the whole story as it occurred.
Just lightly tap the like button. Like lightly tap it. If anyone says smash it, and I don't like that. You're being too violent to the like button.
It's not one
Just take your
concept.
finger and lightly
It's a whole combination
I know
of
big
things.
words.
And what is truth to one group as opposed to another?
No problem. Oh yeah,
I think
flip
that a
it.
standard
Just
would have to
listen,
depend on
Robin.
context where it's used.
Nice. Just with Robin. Shout out.
Truth has
You're
varying
good.
meanings.
Yeah, clap,
Remember,
clap. Thanks for the
Science has
compliment.
figured out in the mind
Clap, clap.
that coffee is a whole group of concepts. Like you're used to seeing it in a cup. You're used to seeing the round, oval shape of it. You're used to the smell, the taste of it. Coffee, all kinds of truth is more complicated than coffee.
Not giving you my golden pig unless you give me rare pets.
Yeah, so
Like nice pets.
depends on the context. I mean,
Like a good pet that I
what
love.
is truth in
Like
in,
llama
in,
or something.
Is there any truth at all in any
I would like to see a
political
pond.
discourses, or is there just agreement?
Yeah, because a lot of people can agree to something that's wrong, but they...
Okay. Give me
Or maybe there is no
unworthy.
definable
Give me
truth, so they
the
disagree to.
Oh my god, it looks like the penguin is saying it. Really,
things
I'm
said
saying
as standing in for that.
Well,
There's another section, I'm not sure which one of these links, but you'll find it. It's the idea of, sometimes it's just the easily quotable, what they take away and can publish in a newspaper. It doesn't really tell you much, it's just what they heard and what they wrote down, what they passed on. So much of it is everything that the government counted. This is about everything that Althea would include the concept. Hey, it's Untitled organizer.
Yeah, you guys got a copy of it.
Robert, yeah, I forget who was included in that group, so add it I wrote something to see. Is that what it's showing right now? Oh my goodness. Oh, is that from? Oh, you know, I think you got. Oh, I must be
now
sending
I'm
the
going to
wrong
my
one.
dead for no reason.
Then, okay, let me do that again. This whole time I've been sitting so.
Water. Plus, they're not going to
Well,
accept
it's good that you came in then.
Thank you, Hyro.
No.
Sorry.
Let me see. Stream
That was
So
now.
where are they? Are they in another room here?
From one place to
Oh,
another.
okay.
Big ol' lag fast.
That was my daughter from earlier today. Well, I'm gonna have to take that off. That was totally on. She was playing. No, that isn't live. That's from earlier this afternoon. I didn't realize that it was set up and she was streaming through that. Alright, so I'm gonna delete that link. With our 11-year-old.
He's playing is what you're playing.
Right, because I went to the link and I hear.
And yeah, I posted the wrong link. Pink 2 deleting
I just want to make sure you don't delete.
the original
Oh
wrong live stream of my daughter playing Animal Jam.
Give me, I'm recording and we'll be doing meal time
Here is our
This is an hour long.
actual live. That was from earlier this afternoon. Here's our actual
Keep
live.
fast.
And I'm gonna take out that other one. Delete. Okay. that's gone, so others won't accidentally click the wrong one.
And all of a sudden watching.
Okay, so if anyone comes late, hopefully they'll.
Wait, what would Lion mean?
Alright, and I think I got the.
That's a question of the day. What would
This one I just said.
Yeah, question of the day. Question of the day. I'm just gonna call it question. What does a lion man look like on a lion? If you have
Yeah,
phones or
yeah,
one of
you're
your
gonna
friends
have
has
to-
phones, please tell us instead of just a
Make your
screenshot.
phones.
And we will give you a
Go back to the website and click and make sure that.
But if you give us this, if you answer this question of the day, I will give you
You
rare.
want me to try it also?
And the first one to submit it gets a rare. If they actually have it. If anyone does.
It'll just be
No one's
us
ever
talking
gonna see
about
this,
the
but if
technical
anyone
issues.
actually does, that is our question
Yeah, that
of
was
today.
how long my daughter recorded earlier.
Oh, we have to go. Why? Let's actually open up the one mask.
By the way, did anyone catch this Omleto little sci-fi short?
I haven't had a chance.
Shout out to
Oh my goodness.
Well,
I'll put a.
rare patch.
Okay, you gotta refresh your page.
I ran a new one. Unfortunately, I have to say goodbye.
Wait, no, not
You said you
yet.
did anything.
I just made some statues.
Alright, now go back to the in your browser
I don't seem to get any picture.
or use the meetup app.
I don't seem to have a picture.
You got so much mail. Everyone, you guys will be in the video to
Go
check.
back.
But it's bedtime.
Oh,
Do I even? I don't think I have enough gems to add.
is it coming?
Oh, I can add an animal. Let's go. I'm making a new animal.
Oh, okay.
Penguin. Let's make a penguin. Yeah. I only got one item. That's gonna be my main item. Look. No amusing fruit.
Really?
Oh, my mouth locked up.
Stop screaming.
Are you kidding?
Oh, you know what? I wonder if jam loaded on here. I'm gonna unmute this for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
The question of technology.
Here's my problem. Let me close.
So you got my
Close
message.
tab. Hopefully we didn't have that playing in the background.
I got
Close
those.
tab.
Mhm.
Okay, that's one. That's
Okay,
Not
well,
working. It's flipping.
Humpty Dumpty meetup site keeps falling
It's not
down and
shut off.
it hasn't been fixed yet, so
Going back to
we
that one.
can't pay on when it doesn't work. So imagine maybe it's not like I'm gonna go broke from it, you know.
Oh gosh. Oh, it's
I
working.
think you have the ability to like wave a mark as paid. Someone who's Asian person.
Oh yeah, I'm back. Oh my god, it's recording,
Either
guys.
Humpty Dumpty or 19.
Yeah. Is that whole thing recording? Did I see that? The whole thing. All right, amusing friend.
And depending on your age, it's into the
Nice, amusing friend. Yeah, perfect friend.
Oh,
I bet.
Seriously? I have 2 items to work with here. I can't do that. That's only 2 items, Lexi. I can't work with just 2 items. I need more items.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna work with as many
No,
items
it's
as I want, but I have to have.
Pepcat here. The problem is
I
with
think
between
looks really nice.
keyboard and monitor. There we go. It is working now. People at least who come back on archive will be able to catch it.
Definitely doesn't work.
Alright, the time is now
Oh,
6:40. Okay, so we haven't
yeah,
lost
this
too
is a
much.
video. Yeah.
So that was part of the whole story, is that when you're doing things for the
Zero
first
likes,
time, often
zero comments.
running through the upside down.
Shattered.
let's go ahead and use all of our
I
colors.
love how you did that refresh thing.
Hold on. Okay.
You know me, if it's not a button for it, I have no
I
patience.
know. Well, that looks
Wait.
nice. But I need to see all of that. I think I'm gonna go with the star pattern
You guys will
here.
video well?
It's basically
So
really
much
nice.
Wi-Fi going on.
It's calming the eye.
We're having
It's nice.
Well, I don't use Wi-Fi.
He used to
I
give
use
away
regular cellular like everybody uses Wi-Fi.
No, don't give that away.
I can put it over here. Let's get back into Heidegger here. About Veritas.
Yeah, because the star pattern.
Okay, so we say truth and we understand it as the correctness of an idea. What a
That looks nice. And then we need a shirt. What sort of shirt?
I love the opening line. Harold, you want to start?
I forgot how I got so many. I just
Sure.
Okay.
guys.
We're on the Greeks, okay. So.
What a wonderful moment of synchronicity here. The next step.
Nice. I know what to do. You guys gotta put it.
And the Greeks have the word, okay, so we got the Roman thing, okay. So where we strayed to, yes, indeed.
Just one more.
We are questioning concerning technology. We arrive now at Aletheia, or revealing.
Oh, they gave me
What has the essence
a
of
rare patch
technology to
cat,
do with revealing?
which is
The
really
answer,
nice.
everything. For every bringing forth is grounded in revealing. Bringing forth indeed gathers within itself the four modes of occasioning, causality, and rules them throughout. Within its domain bring end and means belongs instrumentality. This is considered to be the fundamental characteristic of technology. If we inquire step by step into what technology represented as means actually is, then we shall arrive at revealing. The possibility of all productive manufacturing lies in revealing.
Alright, so we got a couple of footnotes.
And I have some comments I can make. Throw into the wind here.
Alright. Yeah. Again, another shout out
You said that technology is a way of revealing.
Rev 1225-1. I'd like to
So
reply
here are a
to
few
them.
things. What does
Finally.
our use or interface
I need to reply to them in the
with
best
modern
way
technology reveal about us?
Yo.
Maybe he talks about, I think, in the upcoming
Why are you not
paragraph,
accepting?
the Earth is a body. Well, what about the Earth as a body analogous to a human body? What is that?
Thanks for the rare.
So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, there's a lot of pages about revealing. So we could talk about revealing as a powerful concept, as an illuminating concept. And like I said, what does it reveal about
Another
me?
shout out
What
to
does it reveal
Dustin
about us? What does it reveal about society?
Generally good person. Actually,
You know,
pretty
so,
good guy. This is my penguin. This is my penguin
new
now.
places, new industries,
I
new
like
ways
the
of living.
outfit. Maybe I need to add a bit more.
And so there's a lot that we can talk about with revealing as a concept.
Let's cover these footnotes here, starting with 11 for, this is for the word
Just needed to
mentality. Footnote 11, here and elsewhere belongs to translates the German
Yeah, this is the complete outfit. I think it's really
Gator.
nice.
In the
Going to your again.
accusative literally belongs into unusual usage that Heidegger often employs. The regular German construct is Georg.
Wow. Hey, wasn't that the one I
Okay,
gave
belongs
you?
to, with the use of belongs into. Heidegger
You actually
intends
look kind of nice. I
to
like
suggest a relationship
the
involving
tie just completely contrasts everything. Look at me. I had to use two other items, but I think
Did
it
you
looks. I think the patch out really
paragraph
comes.
before the paragraph that starts technology.
Bedtime. It's bedtime,
You want to read
Lexi.
the
It's time
paragraph
to
that
go to
starts with
bed.
technology?
Take a
Jason?
nap.
Sure.
Take a nap.
Technology.
No, I need to take a nap from my nest.
Is there any, so we're going to talk a lot more about revealing because that goes, I think, to the PDF,
Mouse?
page 51. not the
Well, if you get the
actual
nest, I get the
internal page.
You know, it would be a really cool play animation. You see, this play animation is kind of lame. I think a really cool play animation would be a very slow cat. I think that'd be funny.
Then another whole realm where the essence of technology will open itself
You
up
have a
to.
tiny dragon buddy.
It is the realm of
That is
revealing,
That
i.e. of
is
truth.
I'm
Think about
the
what?
evil dragon.
Think about whom?
Heidegger here
Oh my god, I figured out how
hyphenates
to
the word
put it back in its egg.
Varheit, truth, so
You
as
gotta
to expose
click on the
its
floor
stem.
below it.
Var
Alright. Are you beautiful?
points out elsewhere that
They're
words
not
with
beautiful!
such stem have a common
Are you the best
relation
human?
and
Best
underlying
mirror, I
meaning.
mean.
Such words often show the connotations
Are you the
of
best
attentive
mirror ever?
watchfulness
Are you
and guarding
The best mirror ever.
Are you the
he
best
there finds
human?
in their
Are you the
brief,
worst mirror?
cognates
They're the best.
Horatio or
Are you the best mirror ever?
E.G.
Yes, they're the
Varn,
best mirror ever.
to watch over and keep safe.
But I
and
think it's
Vivarin
time
to
for us to
preserve.
go.
Hyphenated,
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Varheit
Yes!
draws it
It's
overtly
time. We have
into
to go
the
to
circle of
bed.
meaning. It points to the fact that in truth,
Goodbye,
which is
everybody.
unconcealed, I just want to. Sounds like you're unconcealing, but you're also saying, you know, you just sneezed, maybe. That's,
Unordinate.
yes, thank you. A safekeeping carries itself out. Varheit thus offers here a very close parallel to its companion noun, Eintbergen, revealing, literally harboring forth, built on Bergen, to rescue, to harbor, to conceal. So, for further discussion of words, both around for, there's a reference here. So technology is no mere means, it's a way of revealing. You know, I'm thinking of the sonogram, I'm thinking of the X-ray.
Well, what is it? What is technology for? It's for people to use. So what does it reveal about us? What does it reveal about our ways of doing things and our reacting to them? Think about how things have come. Like you used to have manual cars, and you had automatic. Now you have computer-driven cars.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, he talks about in one passage how technology almost takes on a life of its own,
Right.
outside of its producers,
I mean,
and that reveals a lot too.
Right. And going back to the very first page of the essay, he asked us, it's even more important that we have control of technology when it gets out of our control. The case in point is the Google car that has no pedals, has no steering wheel. You're just supposed to get into it and tell it where you want to go, and it drives you there on the roads.
Wow. That's
Well, same thing in business. You know, more and more often when you go to retail establishments, larger ones, you have self-checkout. And then I listened to an article today about technology in agriculture. Modern farms, meaning not farms run in the old-fashioned way, meaning with physical labor. Modern farms are if they are renovated, they are fully automated.
Right.
The cows, the feeding, the milking, the processing, it's fully automated. There's robots that run everything. I mean, not that you can interact with them, but robots run everything.
Right. The harvesters are GPS locked in.
And they're actual drones inspecting the fields.
Right.
I mean, in car factories, that's becoming more and more automated. There have been science fiction movies that we mentioned that where cars are simply made without much people even there.
Yes. Have anyone seen the movie, is it Tom, that guy from Top Gun?
Right, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, the movie Minority Report.
Right, oh yeah, I love that movie.
Of that, the car being built by all the robots. I think that's what you're giving reference to. Back to Heidegger, I think, he's talking about, perhaps he's describing things like the electron microscope, which was actually pioneered in his fatherland of Germany. They called it Uber microscope or something.
I'm sorry, I could bring up a point. Remember, if you read old English literature, the people that were able, in the early 1900s to afford cars, automobiles, ones that were relatively automatic, so to speak, meaning you didn't have to crank it or things like that. That revealed a whole nother side to people, a whole nother culture. Now there was a whole new form of recreation and class distinction that opened up in society. It revealed a great deal about society.
Right.
Because now you could take trips with the family.
Right.
If you were in that class of people.
Or if you read the Modernist Manifesto, which is basically the story of an Italian who gets behind the wheel of a car in the 19-teens or 1920s, and first of all, he describes the car as having these luscious curves, as though it were a woman, and then goes driving, and then goes off of into a ditch when there's a donkey pulling a cart. That's the entire Modernist Manifesto in a nutshell. Having an attraction to the car, driving really fast, and then crashing. And
it reveals a learning process.
But also the fact that he takes the technology and it reveals something about us as men, that he would put his almost like sexual energy or attraction not on a woman but on a piece of technology, and have spend more time with that technology. He's always saying I put my computers in front of her, which is a horrible accusation, but I did have a relationship with computers long before I had a relationship with her.
And what does that reveal about us? Exactly.
Yeah. So I like the idea of the electron microscope, which was a technology developed in the 20s or 30s in Germany, because it is revealing, and it's what allowed a lot of the early quantum physicists came out of Germany, because they had this technology and they could actually see this inner world, all the way down to the orbital shells of electrons, and see individual atoms interacting with each other that weren't interacting the way Newtonian physics said things interact. It was a whole other thing. It was this not just revealing, but what did he say before? Unconcealed. So I think he's getting into that. This you want to start reading for us, Hyle, or do you want to sit back and listen?
Where?
You'd have to go on this screen.
Oh yeah, see,
We'll pick up.
See, the next sentence is really good. It says
The prospect.
It's
This
strange.
prospect strikes us
Right.
as strange.
Yes, indeed, isn't
Indeed, it should do so. Should do so as persistently as possible, and with so much urgency that we will finally take seriously the simple question of what the name technology means. The word stems from the Greek technikon, meaning that which belongs to technique.
Who was Tech? Let me see who Techni was. Belongs to Techni.
You know what? Can I just make a quick
Please.
comment?
Go ahead.
Simple question, what does it mean? Now, we're kind of like in the middle ground because, we still exist in the natural world to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But think about people, Navy people on submarines, or pilots and flight attendants, or think about people in fictional Star Trek that live their whole lives on starships.
Mm-hmm.
In both of these three examples, technology equals life, and life equals technology, because without it, there is no environment for that at all. And then you are left marooned on the planet, or or lost in sea, so to speak. So, when he says, what does it mean? It can mean different things in those contexts.
Techni is a term etymologically derived from the Greek word, I'm not going to even attempt that, that is often translated as craftsmanship, craft, or art. So we may meet up in the future on not a German, but a French fellow by the name of what was his name? he wrote the Technological Society. That was his big work in the 1950s. But he did over 30 different books. And Jacques Ellul is his name. E-L-L-U-L. He was in the French Underground, actually. And Ellul would speak a lot about technology as technique. So I think they're both going back to the Greek concept of its craftsmanship, its art. But Ellul's idea was more of in terms of method. And this is, I think, using in the general sense. So the word stems from the Greek technikon, means that which belongs to technique. So basically the art of or the craftsmanship of something. You want to pick up for us, Iro? And when you speak, the microphone is somewhere on this laptop. So you might want to.
Can I make another comment?
Please.
I know I make a lot of comments. Steve Jobs thought technology was art. And we see that, but the interface as art does not work as well as maybe everyone initially thought it would. So what is a middle ground for that? It's nice to have something nice to look at if it's just something you're looking at. When you have to actually use it, you have, a lot of other considerations. Maybe that's the technique part comes into it.
Right. There's also, does function follow form, or does form follow function? I come from the other side, not
I
the
prefer
Apple
function over form.
Right, same here. But Apple for sure is function coming after form, right?
And that's what society adopted.
No, they got both.
Well, yeah, no, we have both, because you have an Android in your hand, right?
Yeah, I would never personally have anything Apple.
And you have
It
a
will
Windows
land
phone
on
in
the
your
pavement
hand.
very hard.
The best.
The best interface is actually the Windows Phone. In terms of efficiency for interface, their Windows PAL interface.
Yeah.
It's not so great on the desktop, but it's wonderful on the phone and tablets. It is the quickest way to get to
I
what
did
you
have a
want.
Windows Phone, however, what you find, I think we talked about it previously, less and less and less support
Right.
for what society pushes as modern functionality. Like, I also use my phone at work, right? I can't use a Microsoft phone at work. It's entirely incompatible with the apps. And it makes things so much easier, more efficient.
Yeah.
Because that was trying to pull an Android.
And I did like my Microsoft, and then it was no longer supported by AT&T when I had them. So.
Okay, let's get back to Heidegger here. Hiro, can you speak into the computer so that we must observe?
Heidegger. Number 12?
Actually, we've read that. If you could pick up where it says we must observe, and then it goes into the next page. And then we'll be...
47 to 48, we must observe.
Yeah.
Oh, you're looking at sideways.
Okay, we must observe...
The page numbers are different on the cell phones due to the screen.
I
There's
can...
a lag.
Yeah, yes, there is. It's about a 30-second lag. So
So he's reading it off the website.
Yeah, you may want to stop that one and just read it off the screen here. Let me give you the chair. You must observe two things with respect to the meaning of this word. Here's Heidegger again.
Where?
We must, it was on the page above. I'll just pick up on this paragraph and then you can pick up after me.
Right.
Yeah, there it is. We must
We
observe.
must observe two things with respect to the meaning of this word. One is that techne is the name not only for activities and skills of the craftsman, but also for the arts of the mind and the fine arts. Techne belongs to bring forth, to poiesis. Poiesis. It is something poetic. The other point that we should observe with regard to techne is even more important. From earliest times until Plato, the word techne is linked with the word episteme. Those words are names for knowing in the widest sense. They mean to be entirely at home in something, to understand and to be expert in it. Such knowing provides an opening up. As an opening up, it is a revealing. Aristotle, in a discussion of special importance, Nicomachean Ethics, Book 6, Chapter 3 and 4, distinguishes between episteme and techne, and indeed with respect to what and how they reveal. Techne is a mode of aletherein. It reveals whatever does not bring itself forth, and does not yet lie here before us. Whatever can look and turn out now one way and now another. Whoever builds a house or a ship or forges a sacrificial chalice reveals what is to be brought forth according to the perspectives of the four modes of occasioning. This revealing gathers together in advance the aspect and the matter of ship or house with a view to the finished thing envisioned as completed, and from this gathering determines the manner of its construction. Thus, what is decisive in techne does not lie at all in making and manipulating, nor in the using of means, but rather in the aforementioned revealing. It is as revealing and not as manufacturing that techne is the bringing forth.
It is as a revealing and not as manufacturing that techne is a bringing forth. What's this mean?
That means that it doesn't matter the who makes it. It's the end product. If it reveals the truth.
What products do reveal the truth?
Like your smartphone, it doesn't matter where it was made or how. As long as you the user interface is nice and you got plenty of apps, it'll
Could
reveal
truth
the
be
truth.
like the nature of something?
It will be revealing. It'll be useful. Maybe the word revealing is another way of saying useful, practical, that people will they didn't even want to use.
We got a specific word earlier before you came in, which was unconcealing.
Unconcealing.
Mm-hmm.
So something is already there. You're just newly discovering it. But if something was concealed, that means it already exists.
Well, you know, if we were to put this in the Buddhist sense, using that symbology, we might say it's the lotus opening, showing the heart of what is there.
Yes, the envisioner Steve Jobs had a vision of say a watch or an iPod or an iPhone, and so he used technology to reveal it, to make it happen.
Okay, so he keeps doing the sacrificial chalice thing, and I think part of that is his Catholic background as well, because there's a spiritual truth in the use of that chalice that the partaker who goes through that rite will experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It has meaning.
Right. So he could be bringing that up as well in that, what is he saying? With a view to one vision for this gathering determines meaning. So it does not lie at all in the making and manipulating, nor in the using of means, but rather in the aforementioned revealing. So he could be saying that the truth comes in the rather in the aforementioned revealing. Well, I guess we'll keep going here. Does anyone mind if I pick up on the reading? Okay. Thus, the clue of what the word techne means and to how the Greeks defined it leads us into the same context that opened itself to us when we pursued the question of what instrumentality as such in truth might be. Technology is a mode of revealing. Technology comes to presence, Wes, in the realm of revealing the unconcealment take place, where aletheia, truth, happens. In opposition to this definition of the essential domain of technology, one can object that it indeed holds for Greek thought, and that, at best, it only applied to the techniques of handcraftsmanship, but that it simply does not fit modern machine-powered technology. And it is precisely the latter, and it alone, on page 1449 of the PDF, it alone, that it is the disturbing thing. That moves us to ask the question concerning technology per se. It is said that modern technology is something incomparably different from all earlier technologies, because it is based on modern physics as an exact science. Meanwhile, we have come to understand more clearly that the reverse holds true as well. Modern physics as experimental is dependent upon technical apparatus and upon progress in the building of apparatuses. So maybe going back to the electron tunneling microscope again, this is you don't really get to explore the modern physics without the technology, and you can only go further as the telescope becomes finer and finer in its ability to delve into the quantum world. Thus, establishing this mutual relationship between technology and physics is correct, but it remains a merely historiographical establishing of facts and says nothing about that in which this mutual relationship is grounded. The decisive question still remains: of what essence is modern technology that it happens to think of putting exact science to its use? What essence is modern technology? You have an idea on that? That it happens to think of.
Well, I would say at this point that big data is a popular term today, and it is not only science and mathematics, but it is doing things that we humans cannot do. For example, analyzing billions of transactions to see what people are buying or how much money they're spending or per capita. That is something that that's putting science to use right there.
Absolutely, data science.
Oh, in that same vein, then you can use, weather forecasting. For storms and the predictions. By the same token, you can use it, in terms of maybe medical technology to try to predict how a disease is going to progress.
Personalized medicine is definitely the direction that we're going in. Hopefully, I mean, for those who get it.
Yeah.
How do you answer that question of what essence is modern technology that it happens to think of putting exact science to use? Or could you rephrase that question? That maybe that's a bad translation.
Well, yeah, essence was, it could be. I mean, it's tough here. What essence is modern technology that it happens to think of putting exact science to use?
So that's why I responded big data in the beginning, because what is the essence of what is technology doing? What is it doing? Is it science? Is it technology? And the thing that I pointed out could not have been done prior. If you set up rows and rows of people, they could still not compute big data because big data is often coming in so fast. The transactions are happening faster than people could possibly compute it by hand. So
it's a service.
The essence is that we are doing things now with technology that could not be done before. And big data is a good example.
Going on what you say, I'm glad Dan said that because it reminded me of something I was watching for a previous talk we were having, some other videos. They were comparing political reporting, say in the 80s, or maybe political reporting to maybe 90s and post-2000 or prior to 80s, where computers these days make massive amounts of predictions. And last year, for example, everyone was believing the computers, and the computers ended up being wrong.
That's the story. There's an excellent documentary on the story of something Capital, which was an investment house based out of Connecticut that automated. It would make risks that were so huge, but then counteracting each other, that all you could do was just go up and up until Russian oil got involved, and Russia was able to do something that basically pull a crazy Ivan, that the system couldn't adapt to that, and it caused the whole thing to come tumbling down. A lot of people were making lots of money, and those who didn't get out before Russia pulled its move lost it all. I'll post a link later if I can find it.
But this was written when? After the Second World War, or
1954, based on a talk given in 1949.
And so what does this person
The
think
essence
of
of
that
modern
is modern
technology.
technology back then?
Well, you know,
There were some I guess there were solid state physics around to make
Right.
transistors at that time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they're starting to make smaller and smaller circuits.
So they had the tunneling electron microscope, allowing us to see the extremely small, where a different realm of physics comes into play, quantum physics. We had a lot of telescopes that were allowing us to see the very large, the astrophysics that was enabled by technology. Today we have the data science, where we're using machines to process data that no human or set of humans could process, but through these automated algorithms are able to gather and come with large abstracts to be able to process it. So we're learning new things about how to handle and manage data. So the essence of modern technology is that our science is actually becoming dependent upon it. Now, I mean, we can't use our eyes, and we can't use our touch, we can't use our sense organs anymore. We have to operate through technology to be able to peer inside of your body using a CAT scan machine or an MRI. You know, if we want to know exactly where the tumors are, or whatever the issue is, we're using these tools now. So the essence of it is that it becomes extensions to us, enabling us to do and to know and to sense beyond what man was able to prior to modernity.
Oh, I'm gonna comment.
Yes.
If okay. I think I was just thinking about something, and it really is rather shocking, because it can be amazing how much we become dependent upon something and just don't realize it, how much that underpins our lives. So I like to watch a lot of older music videos, you know. So I was watching one that was based in the late 80s, and it depicts this man, and I guess he's somewhere where it's a vast field or a desert, and he's driving somewhere, not sure where, and you know, he gets off track somewhere, off whatever, and his map is no good. He shows him throwing it out the car, and he's utterly and completely lost. The car maybe broke down or something, and it makes you wonder, he is so totally alone. And we are so programmed by modern society that we can't even conceive of that today.
Right.
We have 6 million ways to correct that for that situation. And I watch that, and I'm amazed. I'm thinking, wow, I remember that time, but it seems like in a time capsule, like I can't even imagine it anymore. Maybe that's what he's experiencing.
Not to get too far away, but in Huxley's Chapter 17 of Brave New World, we're certainly in the Brave New World, where we can have constant contact with other people and not ever have to be alone if we decide to continue to be immersed and enabled with our social media. And you have an idea? I don't know.
After you're done.
I think I'm done.
So let's look at the non-modern technology. Is there such a technology that is not modern, that doesn't use exact science?
Plow, axe,
Tools, I mean, hard
basic
tools like
construction,
rulers and stuff.
right? Yeah.
Talking?
Hammer.
Talking? Singing?
Talking.
Singing?
You mean like the verbal technology ones that, you know, is language a
Maybe
phenomenon
writing?
that then gets developed further with the use? Yeah, writing is an excellent example. Sure. Things certainly changed once the printing press was put into place, because we could make so many copies of the same thing distributed.
But
and
there's
exploded.
some exact
literacy.
science involved in writing, though.
Right? You mean,
Well, if you want to
like
do
uniform and
calligraphy,
doing in clay
if you want to do
tablets?
calligraphy, you have to have the science of how to process the ink, like the ink.
Sure.
I mean, the paper, maybe you have to learn how to make paper.
But
that requires
sure,
exact.
sure. But
maybe
why?
that is exact.
But why do you bring that up?
To make sure that it's understood that there is technology that is not modern, and that there's technology. And maybe what did he think that was modern then? Maybe.
Oh, I think we discussed that
we
already.
just
What is the next question? I'll pick up on the reading here.
I would just like, I'm sorry, you're about to start. The paragraph in contrast, I want to make a comment about that when it comes to that.
Okay, all right. What is modern technology? It is too revealing.
It too.
It too is a revealing.
Is a revealing.
Sorry. It too is a revealing. Only when we allow our attention to rest on this fundamental characteristic does that which is new in modern technology show itself to us. And yet the revealing that holds sway through modern technology does not unfold into a bringing forth in the sense of poiesis. The revealing that rules in modern technology is a challenging. Okay, here's another one of those.
Herausfordern.
Thank you, Dan. And why don't you read Herausfordern?
Well, we know German comes from Klingon, so take some.
All right, here's the footnote, number 13. Herausfordern means to challenge, to call forth, or to summon to action, to demand positively, to provoke. It is composed of the verb fordern, to demand, to summon, to challenge, and the adverbial prefixes her, meaning hither, or aus, meaning out. The verb might be rendered very literally as to demand out hither. The structural similarity between herausfordern and hervorbringen, to bring forth hither, is readily apparent. It serves of itself to point up the relation subsisting between the two modes of revealing of which the verbs speak, modes that, in the very distinctive ways peculiar to them, occasion a coming forth into unconcealment and presencing.
Okay. The revealing that rules in modern technology is a challenging Herausforderung, which puts to nature the unreasonable demand that it supplies energy that can be extracted and stored as such. But does this not hold true for the old windmill as well? No, its sails do indeed turn in the wind. They are left entirely to the wind's blowing. But the windmill does not unlock energy from the air currents in order to store it. In contrast, a tract of land is challenging into the putting out of coal and ore. The earth now reveals itself as a coal mining district, the soil as a mineral deposit, the field that the peasant formerly cultivated and set in order
Bestellte.
Thank you. Appears differently than it did when to set in order still meant to take care of and to maintain. The work of the peasant does not challenge the soil in the field. In the sowing of the grain, it places the seed in the keeping of the forces of growth and watches over its increase. But meanwhile, when the cultivation of the field has come under the grip of another kind of setting in order, which sets upon stealth nature. Oh, there's a footnote.
So before we get there, just consider this point quickly. You mentioned the earth. What about the earth as a body, like I mentioned before? The earth as a body, analogous to the human body.
Right.
What are we bringing so that maybe what he said can be applied to us as well? I just had that random thought when I was reading it and wrote notes down.
All right, so let me get nasty for a moment, if I may. This is Rummy driving the Mack truck through the room. So he was in Germany. This is 4 years after the war. It would be the difference between a prisoner of war in a concentration camp and considering like a human resource to build an artillery shell, Or consider what the Nazis did to those people in the concentration camps, where they created lampshades out of skin and pulled the gold out of teeth and melted down the spectacles that some of them wore, to make the tools of war. I mean, really nasty stuff. That would be analogous.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Well, okay. Well, that's where my mind went. I mean, it's the difference.
Because basically, with preceding that was, he talked about modern tech as what does our use of the modern tech reveal about us. He talks about challenging the soil, and then we're challenging ourselves to adapt to what comes next, what comes with technology, what comes with the revealing and the unconcealing.
Right. Can you take it like a next step in terms of he's asking what comes next, or is it about the nature of people? Or
okay. So we're challenging. If you continue that analogy, we're challenging ourselves, like I said, to adapt to the modern technology as it progresses. So as it continues to reveal and unconceal its potential. So we are learning to live with it, because to exclude it is to exclude ourselves from larger society, because larger society becomes dependent on it, i.e. we become dependent on it, because we're dependent on society.
It's hard to, I have friends where they don't do the Facebook, but so many of the larger set of friends do the Facebook, and so many of our events are organized through Facebook. So the other ones, they either have to have an account just to keep up, or they have to be notified. Like we know those people, they need texts to remain in the loop of what's going on.
Or they can choose not to be associated with a Facebook-only group.
They could, but we meet on a regular basis. I'm talking about our small church, like Christian community, that we do. So we're going to make sure to include everyone, which is the nature of the community.
I'm thinking that he's headed towards saying that modern technology is kind of forceful and doesn't care about nature. It'll use it however it can to do whatever it needs to get done.
Right. Yeah.
Versus like previous technology that kind of was more holistic, or more like the more kind of went with disease, or kind of
way
did
back
things that for centuries didn't seem like maybe kind of adapted to nature. That people kind of adapted to nature, but they did do some technology, but it wasn't like so large scale.
Way back on our discussion early, do you remember the very first Central Florida Meetup philosophy event that we did? Central Florida Philosophy Meetup event that we did. Do you remember the topic then? What was his name? The philosopher who studied under Bertrand Russell. He was a mathematician. Let's go home. And let's get now. Past. We have to dive into the. See, I don't even remember very much because I can't. I know I'm accustomed to having constant internet. This is our 41st meetup, Cairo. So much of, okay. Ludwig Wittgenstein. We had a meetup, and this is the first one where I got you into the group, and we met at around Lake Eola, and I remember Cairo was there, Mike was there, and our original founder was there, and I remember bringing up a point about the gray goo scenario, if you're familiar with the idea of gray goo, is where it was proposed in the early 70s. The idea is you would have nanotechnology, machines that are so small you can't see them with the naked eye, but you could have masses of them that had very simple rules, like deconstruct the matter around you to make more of yourself. And then it could go into a series where the entire world, the great goo scenario is these things go off and do that, and eventually just turn the entire world into just a mass of itself. The great goo scenario. It even got Prince Charles concerned, and he was like advocating against it when he heard this idea. So remember when I stated, I think Swami thought I was talking aliens, but I was talking about the great goo. If there's such a technology that does that, it might look at Mike Taylor's foot and not being able to perceive or distinguish it as something different or of a different value from like the brick that it stands on. It would consume them both to make more of itself out of. What were you saying that caused me to remember that, Harold?
Modern versus non-modern, or like farming technology, or like maybe focusing at Appalachia's kind of, or like the Amish kind of technology. that they are self-sufficient and they use things that have worked for centuries, and they don't tend to disrupt nature as much as today's modern technology. Like today's modern technology, they don't care what happens afterwards. They're lying things.
Let's go back to the work here. So yeah, so that must have been it. It was. By the way, Jason, who just stepped out, we were just talking about the gray goo scenario. Have you heard of that?
Goo, G-O-O?
Yeah. Gray goo. Maybe it's G-R-A-Y, goo. Nope. Here we go, gray goo. Hypothetical end-of-the-world scenario involving molecular nanotechnology in which out-of-control self-replicating robots consume all biomass on Earth while building more of themselves, a scenario that has been called ecophagy, eating of the environment, more literally eating the habitation. The original idea assumed machines were designed to have this capability, while popularizers have assumed that machines might somehow gain this capability by accident. It was actually brought up by mathematician John von Neumann, whom all of our smartphones and computers are based off of. The architecture is von Neumann. Von.
That's the English version.
Oh, how do you pronounce his name in German?
Well, in German it'd be Fon.
Fon? Fon.
Becomes
F. Von
W
Neumann.
becomes V.
Nice.
And what does font mean? From?
From Newman. So John from Newman. Okay.
Maybe it's a city.
Coined. That's a nice city name, Newman. Yeah. Could be. The term gray goo was coined by nanotechnology pioneer Eric Drexler in his 1986 book Engines of Creation. In 2004, he stated, "I wish I had never used the term gray goo. Engines of Creation mentions gray goo in 2 paragraphs." And a note, while the popularizers of the idea of gray goo first publicized in a mass circular Omni in November. So in Neil Stephenson's 1996 novel, The Diamond Age, which is set in the Pudong, Shanghai industrial area of China, primarily, they have what are toner wars, which are these more replicating robots that are so polluting the environment that it looks like there's toner on your teeth because just breathing it fills lungs and people are dying from having these things.
So if these machines are eating organic matter, are they machines?
Yeah, nano machines, smaller than you could see individually with your eye, but as collections flock together, they would create like a fog, maybe on water droplets or.
There's a lot of science fiction about this concept.
Yes. Well, this is where it started, and you can look up gray goo and read more about that. It's the difference. And he's using the idea of a field
goo, is that considered a modern technology, or a modern technology gone wrong?
It's a scenario that someone thought could happen, but hasn't happened yet, as far as we know. But here he's giving us something on the human scale, which is a field that once was used to plant and harvest grain could be looked at another way, where technology with modern excavation can turn into not something that mankind is putting seeds into and counting on nature to create this bountiful harvest out of, but with machines going in and ripping out the topsoil and digging down and producing ore and coal.
Mm-hmm.
So two different things that being what the old technology is the plow, and the new technology is
They were kind of using the old technology, but on a large scale, like plowing huge fields and like covering them with corn and then converting that to
fuel.
Ethanol.
Burning it. You know, when we start doing that, that caused a whole, like the price of corn tortillas went up globally. It was causing famine. Here we are in America literally burning food so that we can drive around in our trucks or whatever.
Save 10%.
And that was actually raising the cost of for a while, the basic food source of so much of Central America and perhaps other
a lot of people talk about the soil, but think about this analogy. In the 1500s, when the Spanish sailed in their ships, they had very little impact on the ocean at large. They were basically at the prey of the ocean and the wind. I mean, they still accomplished their objective, though. So that was a form of technology there. Now, you advance because humans are meant to progress, to advance, or else we'd be deer and antelope and whatever else that just exists. There's a big difference between exists and then being aware that you exist to progress. Anyway, so those Spanish Armada sailing ships advanced, and then they got to be more sturdier. Okay, so then maybe they were more resistant. But then in the 1800s, whatever, powered sailing boats that could actually use motors, or maybe, I don't know what, 1900s or whatever, to actually churn the water around it and move. Now that did have an impact because it would create waves and churns and whatever, and the water would disrupt the life, the sound, it would disrupt the sea life, it might disrupt the plant life. So that was, and that could be analogous to something terrestrial, is now we have our ships are not at the prey of the ocean. We don't really take that into consideration at all because they're modern and they can maneuver through everything.
Yeah, it does allow us to force on through, and he has brought in the idea of the forcefulness of technology. There's also, it enables us to do great waste. I'm thinking of the Gulf Wars, where not only were we pulling oil, we as a species were pulling oil out of the desert sands of the Middle East, but we were just setting it on fire and changing the atmosphere of that region and dumping it in, they blew up the port where the oil was being pumped into, so literally just pumping the stuff out from under, meant to be used to turn into plastics or to be burned to fuel our transportation or our heating in the northern climates, but just dump right into the Persian Gulf and having those.
If I could just make a quick example?
Yes.
There's a project that's ongoing now, and I was there in May. There's a new, if you're familiar with the Outer Bank Islands of North Carolina, they're way out in the ocean. It's just a string of islands. And modern technology enables these incredible bridges to be built from the mainland. There's a new bridge being built right now in progress. So what the companies have to do, there's these enormous rigs that are parked in the ocean, basically, in the enormous platforms, and they're driving these enormous steel pylons or whatever they're made out of into the ocean floor. And then they're creating the top surface where you actually drive on. And it's an incredible process because you're creating something and you're taking away at the same time, and there's a whole lot going on there, and that's would be on the scale of what he was talking about without having Now, there may be not a lot of electronics going on there, but think of all of all of the big large scale machinery there. It's probably using computers to be as precise and exact. It's using modern science to be as exact, as precise as it can to create the infrastructure for that bridge.
Right. Yeah, the island building on that was used in Japan. It was used. There's a whole set of islands off the coast of Abu Dhabi that are shaped like a palm tree. Those islands that are private islands now. Previously was ocean. I drove and had my passport processed when we came back from the Eastern Arabian Peninsula in 1987. We drove the equivalent of Orlando to Daytona Beach over the Persian Gulf because they had just completed the year before the causeway, which was the longest in the world at the time, from the Arabian Peninsula out to the island of Bahrain. And they built an island out of the sea, dredging, dumping, and built an island up with stone that you would stop, park, go in, have your passport processed in, and then get back on and go out to the rest of the bridge. And there were even, I remember on one side at least 3 different sections where the bridge came high enough so that oil tankers could drive under.
It's still there?
It's still there.
By the way, we have 20 minutes left in the room.
Thank you. And we want to figure out if we want to finish at 8 as well in 15. Otherwise,
Find a good stopping point, maybe.
Yes. Where'd we leave off?
At footnote 14.
Sorry to be talking so much. I know.
Setting in order which sets upon
On a
nature.
kind of setting of order sets upon nature, right? Yeah, we certainly gave a lot of examples there. It sets upon it the sense of challenging it. Agriculture is now the mechanized food industry. Air is now set upon to yield nitrogen. The earth to yield ore to yield uranium. For example, uranium is set upon to yield atomic energy, which can be released either for destruction or for peaceful use. You want to pick up reading first, Cyril?
Okay. This setting upon that challenges forth the energies of nature is in expediting furthering in 2 ways. It expedites in that it unlocks and exposes, yet that expediting is always itself directed from the beginning toward furthering something else, toward driving on to the maximum yield at the minimum expense. The coal that has been hauled out in some mining district has not been supplied in order that it may simply be present somewhere or other. It is stockpiled, that is, it is on call, ready to deliver the sun's warmth that is stored in it. The sun's warmth is challenged forth for heat, which in turn is ordered to deliver steam, whose pressure turns the wheel that keep the factory running.
All right, let's stop right there for a moment. Wow, huh? When it says unlocks and exposes, I was thinking of what happened in the Midwest with all the grain, because so many farmers are going out and making these homesteads and producing wheat, and it changed the whole price of wheat. I mean, the price kept going up. They were making money, and then it dropped because they were so successful, and then you couldn't even make it anymore. And then there were droughts that came in, and that what had we done in this process of going after this wealth? We had exposed something that took thousands of years to build up, this grassland, and once the rain stopped and the winds came through, you had dust, and the whole dust bowl was created. And today we have policies, agricultural policies, where we don't grow.
Or like killing off the wolves.
Right,
and then
what
the
did
deer population increases, and so they eat the grass, and then it causes erosion, and the river.
Yes, and they since introduced those 14 wolves into Yellowstone, which is revitalized and made the wolves by cutting down the deer population, has allowed all those grasses and different kind of plants to come up, and it's a much more flourishing ecosystem now.
I wonder if Heidegger would consider man as technology to do such a mass mechanization and destroy something or offset.
Well, I think you're getting into something that Norbert Weiner would bring up. He's the father of cybernetics. And he wrote a book. If you want to know, just get a clue as to who Norbert Weiner is in terms of his personality and what he thought of men. Let me give you this one book title that always gets me. It's 19 foot. Read the title of that.
Where is it? The human,
Yeah.
The human use of human beings.
Sure, if you want to reduce a man, not to his entirety, but just a subset into the function that you can designate him to accomplish within your larger scheme of things, you could consider man as a temporary replacement until you can create the robot to replace him.
That's it right there.
Anything else in this paragraph? There's the idea where we're not only pulling it, we're not even pulling it for necessarily exact use, but for stockpiling the pile of oil to make a tallow happen, or a giant vat or storage container for raw or processed oil, gasoline. Okay, the hydroelectric plant is set into the current of the Rhine. This is something that occurred in his lifetime. He got to watch this whole giant, massive thing be built, this hydroelectric plant. It sets the Rhine to supplying its hydraulic pressure, which then sets turbines turning. This turning sets those machines in motion, whose thrust sets going the electric current, for which the long-distance power station and its network of cables are set to dispatch electricity. In the context of the interlocking processes pertaining to the orderly disposition of electrical energy, even the Rhine itself appears as something at our command. The hydroelectric plant is not built into the Rhine River as it was the old wooden bridge that joined bank with bank for hundreds of years. Rather, the river is dammed up into the power plant. What the river is now, namely a water power supplier, derives from out of the essence of the power station. In order that we might even remotely consider the monstrousness that reigns here, let us ponder for a moment the contrast that speaks out of the two titles. The Rhine as dammed up into the power works, and the Rhine as utterly out of the art work. In Holderlin's hymn by the same name. But let me see if I can find Holderlin's.
Do you want to find one?
Rhine.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Yeah, the name is 10 total. So
Nope.
Okay.
Emotion.
Download Holderlin's
Castles.
hymn.
No, it's not a working link. So this is something that here's the
I
poem
got signals and
Hunter,
change just
maybe.
for that purpose today. While I was out.
No, that's a different poem of Heinrich.
I tried it again today and I did a screenshot that's saying, yay!
And the Rhine studies and studies.
Camera processing has been around for a long time. Maybe we should be able to.
Nope.
My compass as an exact example of technology there.
I gotta be careful not to cause us to get flagged.
Oh, that's right. Any music from
Yeah, so we should so I don't know, you're gonna have to look up anyone who's looking at this in the future and try to find, if you want to know what he's comparing to. So some sort of hymn based upon the Rhine before the dam was put up. But it will be replied, the Rhine is still a river in the landscape, is it not? Perhaps, but how? In no other way than as an object on call for inspection by a tour group ordered there by the vacation industry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking Hoover Dam across the Colorado River. Certainly we have Niagara in our own. Actually, a lot of the rivers were dammed throughout the United States. We pioneered a lot of that. And then some of them have been taken down. There's even a river, it's the Ocoee River in southeastern Tennessee, where the dam had broken, and then some, I don't know, 60s, early 70s, it had just been a riverbed and became a really great whitewater thing, and folks were kayaking and I've whitewatered on it. So what they do, because it created an industry of people who like doing that, they store up the river at night, move it on over, and during the day they let it out so that people can actually.
Wow, can do the whitewater.
Yes.
Would that be analogous to the pumping stations in Louisiana, like in New Orleans? How it's technology is a good example. Is battling nature on a 24/7 basis.
And they've been doing that for centuries in the Netherlands. And Miami has a lot of those same pumps because inland, the neighborhoods are flooding, and it's actual seawater that's coming in underneath the system and coming up in the ditches and into the streets. The revealing that rules throughout modern technology has the character of a setting upon, in the sense of a challenging forth. The challenging happens in that the energy concealed in nature is unlocked. What is unlocked is transformed. What is transformed is stored up. What is stored up in turn distributed. And what is distributed is switched about ever anew. Unlocking, transforming, storing, distributing, and switching about are ways of revealing. But the revealing never simply comes to an end. Neither does it run off into the indeterminate. The revealing reveals to itself its own manifoldly interlocking paths through regulating their course. This regulating itself is for its part everywhere secured. Regulating and securing even become the chief characteristics of the challenging revealing. Wow, okay, so you said a lot there, huh? Any thoughts? There was a footnote for dispatch electricity, number 15. You want to read that for us, Harold? Or Dan?
Okay. Footnote 15. In these two sentences, in order to show something of the manner in which Heidegger gathers together a family of meanings, a series of stellen verbs, stellen 3 times, herstellen, bestellen, have been translated with verbal expressions formed around set. For the usual meanings of these verbs, see N14.
Okay, I have a comment.
Yes.
Okay, so when you have that page 51, so the challenging happens, that you just read?
Yes.
Okay. Replace nature with man or people or society and then continue reading. For instance, what is challenging happens and the energy is concealed in man is unlocked. Society is unlocked. What is unlocked is transformed. That's society. What is transformed is stored up. What is stored up in turn distributed. What is distributed is switched about ever new. Society, people, ideas. You can replace out any number of things.
All right.
And the unconcealment, as he previously said, applies here because so many aspects are being revealed.
Revealed. If you simply put different things in for nature.
You think maybe we can, we've got a few minutes left.
Yeah.
We can get up to the next footnote.
You want to read first, Dan?
Okay. What kind of unconcealment it is, then, that is particular to which comes to stand forth through this setting upon that challenges. Everywhere, everything is ordered to stand by, to be immediately at hand, indeed to stand there just so that it may be on call for a further ordering. That's in Amazon. Whatever is ordered about this way has its own standing. We call it the standing reserve, the stand.
Bestand, I'll read the footnote. Bestand ordinarily denotes a store or supply as standing by. It carries the connotation of the verb bestand, with its dual meaning of to last and to undergo. Heidegger uses the word to characterize the manner in which everything commanded into place and ordered according to the challenging demand ruling in modern technology, presences as revealed. He wishes to stress here not the permanency, but the orderability and substitutability of objects. The stand contrasts with Gegenstand object, that which stands over against. Objects indeed lose their character as objects when they're caught up in the standing reserve. You know, I'm reminded of that line from THX 1138. In order to, what is the exact line?
I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
It was an odd movie.
THX. There was a
Lucas made it.
Yes, it was
Well, that's
before
the
Star
sound
Wars.
system, THX
Yes.
sound.
Yes.
THX.
Similar name, it had nothing to do with
1138.
They just picked that name for the movie. And I forget if it was the name of a room or a person.
It was a person played by Robert Duvall.
Duvall.
Yeah. Here, let's see.
That's like an anthem where everyone had a number or some other form of
Oh, you're right.
Alphanumeric designation.
It is that sort of thing. Because THX, the movie, was a futuristic movie. Very far in the future, where everyone's in white coats, buildings inside are all white.
That's the way it's very, very similar to anthem, yeah.
For your enjoyment and greater efficiency, consumption has been standardized. You can all have fun with that movie sometime. It's available on DVD, a director's cut that came out in about 2004.
You know, Rami, I would observe that at the last meeting we did about 9 pages,
Right.
and here we did 8 pages.
Hey, great, we're on target.
So perhaps a suggestion could be for the next meeting, if everyone can pre-read about 10 pages or
Right.
9, and for when things like this come up where there's technology or reflections on the world or even a movie like THX, we can gather the links ahead of time, much like our comments on this meetup were, and post some links
Right.
to YouTube videos so we can all have a rich discussion.
Yes, thank you, great idea,
Or
Dan.
split, say you have 9 pages, split them in 3 ways. 3 people each get 3 pages to
We could do that.
Depending on who's coming, how do we know that people will
at least 3.
Well, an interesting thing that I do is when I'm lacking time for my Stoics group is if I can't read the next 10 pages, I just skim it. I look for historical names, you know, and maybe I figure out how to pronounce them
Right.
because it's ancient Greek or when they lived.
You're asking us to really prepare and do lots of homework. I do as much as I can.
Well, actually,
We don't go to school anymore.
if just one of us does the pre-reading,
Right.
at least, you know, because I know all of us don't have enough time to do these things. It'd be lovely.
I
lovely
do
if we could
pre-read
do-
several pages, but I ignore the German and the Greek and the Latin words. It's all Klingon to me. so.
Missing out then. Right?
I read for the meaning what is the translated meaning.
So we're coming to we're almost at 8 o'clock. Do we want to go past that? It's going to be up to consensus. If anyone needs to go, we should probably end it right here.
I need
If
to
you wanna
go.
Okay. All right, then we are at that stopping point. We are stopping at the
Page
middle
17.
of the paragraph, page 17, which in the PDF is page 52.
Footnote 16.
Footnote 16. Right, we'll pick up. Well, so we'll pick up next week, or I don't know, whenever next time at the word expresses here's something more and something more
And I wrote down
essential,
where we
which is a
left off.
great
So.
way to put things. Yes, we'll go do that. We'll go ahead and shut down here.
150 pages to go.
Oh no, it's only a 32-page essay. This is the question
Page
concerning
17? Oh,
technology
we're halfway
and
through.
other essays.
Oh, we're halfway through.
Yeah. 43.
Yeah, about halfway.
Yeah, that's where we left off.
That's cool.
Great.
So maybe 2 or 3 more minutes.
Yep.
Next time we'll eat.
Or the next time we'll have 2 people read at the same time.
We're gonna go ahead and stop the streaming
Then
here.
we'll finish twice as fast.
3 minutes early. And sorry about the Animal Jam soundtrack for the first 30 minutes or so of our close to 2-hour meeting. Have a good night, everyone.